The U.S. Navy was started on October 13th, 1975. The Navy was disbanded after the Revolutionary War. It was later brought back mainly to fight pirates. Although the Navy can be tough for some, most people who join have a very good reason for it. The biggest reason people join the military, or Navy, is to serve your country and protect your country's liberty and freedom. Another thing that gets people to join the Navy is how they oftentimes get to travel the world. This intrigued my grandpa, Joe Meyer, who served in the Navy, and takes us right into his story.
Then for 4 years, I joined in 1963 to 1967. I wanted to be a radarman on a ship.
Fortunately for my grandfather, he did like to travel, which is what he did for a while.
For the first 6 months, they put me on a cargo ship, and I went from Charleston, South Carolina to Holy Loch, Spain, back to Charleston, South Carolina, to Holy Loch, Scotland, and then rode to Spain back and forth for 6 months. So we went to Cuba for 2 months. And then I went to school up in Great Lakes for 6 months. After I graduated school, of course, December 24th, they sent me to row to Spain to a ship that never went to sea. They didn't need a radarman. Typical Navy.
Oftentimes when people join the Navy, they don't initially get the job they wanted. My grandfather did not let this discourage him, and he kept moving forward.
So they put me in a called bosun deck, just to fill my time in. And they asked me, can I swim? I said, sure. They said, can you swim from here, so far with a cage? I said, sure. So they put this big heavy cage and I swam back and forth. They said, all right, do you want to be a swimmer? I said, yes. They put me on a 63-foot boat with 5 other guys. And for 2.5 years, I swam after torpedoes. The nuclear sub would shoot a torpedo out. Instead of having a warhead, it would have water in it and compressed air. It would come out and float like this or like this. I jump in the water with this big cage, hook it on, we crank it in, and we bring it in. We had 2 guys on deck with M1s in case the sharks would buy.
To swim in the Navy, you had to be able to swim at a certain speed and also be able to hold your breath for a substantial amount of time. You would also have to not be afraid of sea animals like sharks.
And they put me to South Carolina again, and I drove 40-foot boats for a year, and crane operator. They sent me to private school because I was...
This is when my grandpa picked up the title of being known as a boat coxswain. A coxswain is someone who is enlisted to have physical control of a small open boat. This boat also has to be small enough to be carried aboard another larger Navy vessel. The coxswain also has to keep the vessel in good condition and repair any damages to it.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to be a boat coxswain when I was in the Navy. I thought I was going to be a radarman or something to do with electronics, but it just so happened that's...
Now that you know what my grandpa did in the Navy, you should know how he got to join the Navy. He ended up joining the Navy at a pretty young age, and it was all his decision.
I just turned 18. What happened, my parents didn't have any money. We were not rich people at all, and didn't have money for college. So I said, well, let the Navy, just turned 18, put you on a bus and send you down to, North Carolina or South Carolina and then go to school. So it was scary.
As said, It was very scary for many people. For many, it was their first time leaving home and taking upon a new life.
It was my life, you know, is what I chose. And don't forget, I was never away from home before. And all of a sudden, they just, you know, plug you up and put you on a bus, and people are screaming, yelling at you, cutting your hair. Well, I actually have no hair anyway.
After embarking on this journey, he had to go to boot camp. Boot camp is the immense training taken before being allowed to work. Boot camp consists of intense mental and physical challenges that often causes people to break down.
I guess it was probably 3 months, and not quite as vigorous as a Marine would be.
Yeah.
But you do all the physical stuff, you know, the verbal abuse, you know, physical work, and you know, but not as bad as Marines. But still, it was difficult. You know, there's always so many young men that committed suicide when we were in boot camp. It happens all the time. I guess it makes them, I don't know. I guess it makes you do what they tell you to do. You know, if you're going to war, you can't have somebody, oh, I don't want to, you know, get shot and run the other way. So you just drilled in your head, you have to do this.
In the end, my grandfather thought it was a great and helpful experience. Although, he did have one regret, which he refers to as one of his biggest mistakes in life.
Yeah, my biggest mistake in life probably was not graduating college. You know, I went to trade school when I get out for 2.5 years or something. I should have gone to a regular college. Everybody should, I think, spend, my favorite line is everybody should spend some time in the service, live in New York City. To give you a new perspective on different perspective on life when you do that.